Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to American Truck Simulator, and welcome back to Eureka, California. So, I did swap out for the 579. It's been a minute since we drove it, and I thought let's switch it up a little bit. We've been driving some of the old school trucks quite a bit, the 378 and then the 389, and I thought let's hop on our Streamliner, right? We own it, may as well drive it. So it is, I want to say it's about 11 a.m. It's a few minutes after 11 a.m. Let's pick a job and let's see if we can get to those wineries. I don't know. And they're a little bit south of us now. I want to say they're down around this way. So we are in Eureka. And let's see what we got going. It's going pretty far. Well, this is interesting. So this is from a, wow, that's from a winery. But it's really, I think that's going too far for our needs right now. I'm gonna try to keep it local. And today is June 4th, and I just saw another drop for, that's a little better. And that keeps us in the area. You wanna do it? 17 grand. It's from the winery though, it's not to the winery. Because the only other one would be cars. These are all about the same. Yeah, it's going to have to be one of these two. Everything else is going too far away. Let's go to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz it's a pretty drive, and I don't feel like we've been down that way recently. So today's June 4th, and there was another on the Steam, I don't know what you want to call it, their channel, their portal, whatever, their blog. There was some more information about the Oregon DLC. I feel like it's going to be pretty soon when they release that, and I am looking forward to it. And I'll download it the day that it's released, and we'll get a video up. Even if I don't have an ATS video scheduled that day, I'll get one posted, get one up there for you, just so you can take a look. And you can see a lot of the scenery, and it's weird because, like, on the one hand, it's almost like, yeah, it'll be more of the same. It'll be more of what it always is. But on the other hand, it's like, this is kind of to me, it's the whole point of the game, is that you get to go to these places that are authentic, maybe unique. You know what I'm trying to say. That's what I like. It's the same thing with ETS. It's one of the things I like about ETS, is that all the different areas in ETS look so different one from another. Right, let's get out of here without smashing anybody. Right, how far we got? 22 miles. Now you say 22 miles. So we'll get up here, we'll get this picked up, and now this is interesting. We still have $1.8 million. And right before I picked this truck up, I went ahead and swapped the motor out. I did swap out for the 1400 horsepower Cummins, and I went with the Lope Idle Old Jake. So this is going to sound almost exactly like our 389, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Because normally the difference between the 579 and the 389, the 579 is like whisper quiet, it just kind of purrs. And then the 389 sounds like a hot rod. So I don't know where I'm at with that. I don't mind, it doesn't bother me. I feel like this sounds exactly like the last truck we drove. I've got a couple other engine packages. I really like the Cummins engines that come in that package, but I feel like there's some other ones available. So maybe we'll throw another engine in here. And we've got the money to do it. I'm actually looking for things to spend money on. So, we could always do that, just to not spend money just to spend money, but I mean, we've got it, we may as well spend it. Right. work our way through the gears here. 1,400 horsepower unloaded. It's just zoomed through the gears, so we'll get settled down here. There we go. I haven't been to... This place is actually listed as Ernest and Julio Gallo. That is a real company name. And I'm guessing that's... Well, I know that's coming from the real company names package, but I haven't seen what kind of signage they have up here or anything. I think I've seen a couple of the trailers with the Gallo label on them, but I haven't been to a winery. This is... I want to be making deliveries to these places rather than picking up from them, but I guess can't have everything. Looks like a vineyard. Cool. I guess there's 3 of these, and if you deliver to all 3 of them, you get an achievement in Steam. Right. Let's find our job. I think that's it right there. Do we want to pick a trailer? Do we want to mess with that? I feel like every time we go in to look at trailers... Right. Well, that was a little weird. Game crashed, but when I reloaded everything, Steam was downloading workshop item updates, which is... It wasn't doing that when I launched the game, and I did, anytime I launch Steam, I always wait a few minutes to see if it does have anything to update, and it wasn't updating anything, so that was a little bit weird. But when I came back into the game and hit the button, it took us straight in, no problem. So I don't know if it was just one of those things or if it had something to do with the update. We're going to Walmart, and it really doesn't matter what the trailer says because... It only matters what's in it and where we pick it up and where we drop it off. So I'm kind of feeling like this Wabash Duraplate, I feel like in the same way that the KAST trailers in ETS2 are sort of dominating our dispatch, I feel like these are, you know, this is pretty much all we got. But we've been hauling a lot of tandems, not immediately recently, but we hauled a bunch of tandems in the past. So let's just go with some regular rigid trailers. Is that one? Where is it? I mean, I can see it, but how do I get to it? I get to it. Looks like that way. Okay. Cool. So we'll get this picked up, and as always, I didn't really look at the mileage. I just tried to find something that was going in the general direction that we wanted to go in. And this one is. So let's get this hooked up. Trying to snake it between these poles. Yeah, I think I got room. I didn't want to hit on the other side that I can't see, the blind side, as it were. Right. That's bouncing around quite a bit. So I'm going to pull this out and we'll take a look at it. Like we always do. 352 miles. That's not bad. We do have our airlines. Silly, but still kind of a cool thing. And let me get rid of that for a minute, because I've been doing thumbnails. I started doing thumbnails. So let's see if we can get a good, maybe something like that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll experiment a little bit on the way down there. Right. Let's get out of here. And it's looking like it might rain. We'll see. I need to turn that down too. There's just been entirely too much rain in our world. Right. So noon, a little bit after noon, and 7.5 hours. So we should get in around, looks like around 8 p.m., around 2000. so hopefully we won't have to drive in the dark a whole lot. Maybe just a tiny little bit. And confirm that we're good on sleep. Yeah, 12 hours till we have to sleep. So, here we go. So yeah, as soon as Oregon hits, I will do a video for it. And I'm wondering if SCS is going to release the Baltic DLC at the same time. Like they're going to do both of them. Now, if it was me, I would not. I mean, I get that it's a little bit more like, you know, feed the hype monster to have like a lot of big news to deliver in one day. But people have budgets, you know, and if they're both, like if both these DLCs are whatever, $20, you know, that's $40. It's not a huge amount of money, but for people that are serious about their budget, you know, you don't just, it's not like, oh, you know, I'll just throw a $40 item in my budget. Because if you know, if you're going to do that for Truck Sim DLC, you know, what else are you going to do that for? And then you end up being the kind of person that just does that all the time. And if you're the kind of person that does that all the time, then not only do you not have a budget, but you might not have any money. So it's, to me, it would seem like it would make sense to announce it, you know, give people a couple weeks to sort of prep for it, and don't do them both on the same day. Spread it out. But we'll see. And it's not, like I said, it's not a huge amount of money, but I'm definitely, I'm not cheap, but I am kind of specific about how I spend my money. I try to be. So we'll get that going. And what else is coming up? Farm Simulator 2019, just a few months out from that, and we're just a couple months out from F1 2018. And as far as other sim vids, I'm trying to think. There've been some in the past year. There've been a lot of what I think of as like work sim. There was Gold Rush, which it's, we'll see if it has legs. You know, it's a fun game, but it's not, I don't know anybody who plays Gold Rush. You know, when you, like when I look at my profiles, you know, I have, you know, 100 hours on this one, and the one that we just wrapped up, our 1.30 profile on ETS2, and we had, you know, 100 hours on that one, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours a year just on Truck Sim, plus hundreds of hours a year on Farm Sim, plus various racing sims, and now Train Sim World, right? I don't know anybody who plays Gold Rush hundreds of hours. It came out about a year ago. Yeah. They've updated it a couple times, but let's say it came out a year ago. I don't know anybody who's played Gold Rush hundreds of hours. You know, it's just, to me, it's not a bad game. It just doesn't have the same kind of legs as something like ATS or ETS. And there were some fishing games. There were several farming games that, to me, I mean, they were really different than Farm Sim, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. They were definitely different, and like on the one hand, you look at it, you know, that's great. They didn't make the same thing that Giants is already making. They made something different. And on the other hand, it's like, well, to me, it's just my opinion, but to me, Farm Simulator 2017 is pretty close to perfect. And I'm not saying it's a perfect game, but as far as a farming simulator, I think it's about the perfect balance of realism, sandbox, especially when you throw some mods in there. I feel like you can really crank the realism up, but not to the point where, like, I saw some guy on a thread, he was belly aching about how Farm Simulator 2017 wasn't at all realistic, and he was like listing all these things that were really, he was, I wouldn't say he was quite trolling, but it had that same kind of feel to it. Like he was just looking for things to be belligerent about. And I was like, you know, it could take, the brakes in these trucks, I swear, man, they're either too sensitive or not sensitive enough. But something like hooking up, right? You can use manual attach, and I do use manual attach in Farm Sim sometimes. The reason that I don't use it all the time is there are some implements that only attach when you're in cab. If you try to use manual attach, they don't go onto the tractor properly. But I don't mind using manual attach or manual cover, or I mean, if you watch my farm sim videos, I love realism mods. I want the game to be more realistic, right? I use the more realistic mod. So I'm all about realism. But I understand that it's not actually realistic. It's just harder. And it's harder in the direction of being realistic. But I was kind of going back and forth with this cat. And I told him, look, man, you and I both know that it can take 15 or 20 minutes to hook up an implement or a trailer in real life. I've hooked up plenty of trailers, light industrial trailers, not tractor trailers, but like gooseneck trailers on a fifth wheel pickup, that sort of thing. And it can take 10 or 15 minutes to hook up a trailer. Now, you can get it done in 2 or 3 minutes. Everything just goes perfectly, but everything doesn't always go perfectly. And I don't mean like multiple swings to get it in there. I mean like something wrong with your lines, or there's a bent pin in your electrical connection, or if there was a game that hooking up an implement, a farm simulator where hooking up an implement could take up to 20 minutes, I don't know that that would really be a popular feature. It would be very realistic, but I don't know that that would be super popular. So also talking to this guy, his main point was the game is not realistic enough. And I was like, listen, man, here's realism. Every now and then farm sim just breaks your arm at the shoulder and you don't have use of your arm for 6 months. Because that's the kind of stuff that happens when you're in working around equipment, working around farm equipment, working in light industrial, light to medium industrial, like a farm. A farm is really, it's an agricultural operation, but in many ways it's a light industrial operation where you're very often working by yourself out in the middle of nowhere, right? It's pretty dangerous work. It's one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States. So the point that I was trying to make was, if you want it to be realistic, it's impossible. It's never going to be realistic. So when I look at Pure Farming and Farmer's Dynasty, to me, they're great games, but they move away from just the straight farming aspect that I really like about Farm Sim. And again, if you watch my videos, I don't log, I don't really get into anything. You can get like a paving mod where you can pave roads, there's a fish farm and all this stuff. I don't really do that. I just farm. And when I look at something like Pure Farming, or specifically Farmer's Dynasty, that has like the reputation stuff, and you're looking to find a wife and you're fixing up your house, that's awesome. And I really like that somebody did something different than Farm Simulator 2017, that they didn't just make an exact copy of FS17. But at the same time, I'm not really into those things when I'm farming. So that's why we never brought any of those games into the channel. I did try Cattle and Crops, and I feel like Cattle and Crops is not ready yet. At the same time, Cattle and Crops is essentially the very same activities as you have in Farming Simulator 2017. So in that way, it's not a clone. I mean, it's not an exact duplicate, but it's the same activities. So where the hell was I going with this? What was I talking about? What's his name again? I may have completely forgotten where I was going with that. But legs, Sims, bringing new Sims into the channel. There are some Sims that I've seen, but I haven't seen any that have the legs of the ones that we have on the channel right now. And it's also weird for me to see that there are Sims like R Factor and Assetto Corsa that have been out for years, right? I mean, R Factor is updated regularly, but that game came out in 2013. So it's, now they're on their own engine. They have their own proprietary engine, is that right? But still, it's amazing to me that a game can be good enough that it can just be patched for years and years like that without ever losing its market share in a way that it sort of needs to be I'm staying out from these concrete barriers. I know I'm getting a little loosey-goosey, but I'm trying to skirt these barriers. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm more than happy to bring new sims into the channel. I just can't find any. And for something like, the DLC for ATS and then the Baltic states that's coming up for ETS, I think that's a great model where you're continually freshening up the game, but it's still the same game. So we'll see where it all goes. We'll see where it all leads. I don't know how I feel about racing videos on the channel. I'm going to keep posting them. I really love Racing Sim, but I don't know that it's really something people are into watching. So we'll have to see long term where that goes. As always, I'm not opposed to anything, and I just want the channel to sort of find its own rhythm and find its own direction. This is super off topic, but I guess it sort of ties in with simulation gaming. I found I wasn't running a specific F1 sim. I was just trying to bring F1 cars into Assetto Corsa. And then I realized I couldn't get around the Lowe's hairpin in Monaco. I found a ton of really good F1 cars. Even after I had F1 2017, I found a ton of really good F1 cars for Assetto Corsa. And I was like, it's fine. I'll drive everywhere but Monaco. And then I thought, no, that doesn't make sense, because there are people that are obviously very serious about Formula One, and they're driving Formula One cars in Assetto Corsa. And you just don't drive Formula One without Monaco. It's just an absolute must on the circuit if you're trying to do a season. So I did a little bit of looking, and I found a plugin. No, it's not a plugin. I guess it's a standalone. It's a .exe, but it's Assetto Corsa Car Tuner. And basically what it lets you do is create a second, well, you can create a second anything. You can create a second turbo. You can create a new profile, a new tune for the car, and you can set it up any way you want. So you can adjust anything really in the car. But the only thing that I'm adjusting, the only thing that I need to adjust, is steering ratio and steering rack. So basically what you do is you build a second, almost like a second version of your car, or I built a second version of my car that has a different steering angle, different steering ratio, and a different side to side. So instead of it being 180 degrees, it's 260 degrees, which is the same rack that Schumacher was running at Monaco when he was driving this Ferrari that I wanted to modify. And then when you're in Assetto Corsa and you go to buy the car, you know, sometimes you get that little wrench, and there'll be like two versions. There'll be one with this motor and one with another motor. And it's different than tuning the car after you've selected it and taken it to the track. This is sort of like pre-selecting what version of the car you want. I guess that's the best way to say it. Well, you can build your own version. So now for all my Formula One cars there's another, it's a vineyard, but I can't, there's no way to get to it that I can see. So all the Formula One cars now have a second version called Monaco steering rack that has a tighter turning circle. So I got Monaco. Now the cool thing is the Monaco track that I downloaded for Assetto Corsa. Oh, game. What causes that? Making me crazy. So I found a new Monaco. There's multiple Monaco tracks for Assetto Corsa. And they're mod tracks. They're community made. But the one that I found this time is better than the one that I found originally. So it looks a lot better for me. And then I also found R Factor 2 has Monaco 1966, which is, it's not only a completely different layout, it's like a whole different look and feel. The hotel isn't there, obviously. There's like hay bales all around the track, and Nouvelle Chicane isn't there. Rascasse is totally different. It's really, really cool. And you're running in the old 1960s vintage F1 cars. So that's on R Factor. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then when I was looking for Monaco for a set of Corsa, I found one called 1966, which I have to say, it looks like somebody found a way to port over the R Factor 2 track. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know if it's like, if there's some plug-in for Blender and you just, you know, take it into Blender and open it and then save it, right? Like you open it as an R Factor track and then you save it as an Assetto Corsa track, and you really haven't done anything to it. I mean, kudos to them for making that, you know, switching it over, but at the same time, you know, they didn't make that track. They just took the R Factor track and did a little zippity-doo. So we'll see. But as always with mods, I'm very very cautious and a little bit like almost on the fence about, you know, the mod community. And I know I encourage it because I download mods, and I don't want to encourage bad behavior. At the same time, well, I think a big part of this community and a big part of these games and sims to me is finding the mods and then configuring them and making them work and all that other stuff. So yes, I will admit that I am in that way part of the problem, but I do try to be respectful, and I'm mindful of the fact that, you know, I don't want to quite say that I'm hooked on mods, but they really make these games, to me, they make these games awesome. And I think there's a way, like on my channel, I don't list links to mods, and I'll tell you about a mod if I'm absolutely confident of its provenance and, you know, who made it and where to get it and that sort of thing. But mostly I just, you know, I'll tell you what the mod is, and you're up, it's up to you, man. Your own devices, you go find it. And yeah, I would never want to point somebody at a link to a mod that is not the one that the mod maker wants you to use. So the best thing I can do is I can tell you the mod, and if I know the name of the person that made it, I'll tell you that too. But only if I 100% know. No, it's really shady out there, and it's weird for me to hear. Like, you'll see sometimes, you know, somebody will get confronted like, hey, you stole this mod, and the majority of the time they're like, yes, so what? And I guess that's just kids today, you know, these kids today, that's the attitude. Like, you know, if somebody made it, that means we all get to have it or whatever. I don't know. I guess that's what happens when you grow up like in the torrent age. That was a little bit, yeah, I'm well familiar with torrents, but I didn't grow up with that. Like, that wasn't around for me my whole life. I think if a kid today is like 16 years old, like, all they've ever known is torrents and MP3s. You know, they've never been to a music store in their life. So the idea that you have to buy things like music or movies or video games or mods, I get that could be, I'm not saying it's okay, I'm not making excuses for them, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if you want a movie, you just go online and download it, you know. And it's like, well, you know, aren't you going to pay for it? Well, you know, why would I pay for something when I can just have it for free? Follow the fire truck. Follow the fire truck. You know, why would I pay for something when I can have it for free? And I'm not making excuses for that kind of behavior, but I think if that's the way it's always been, it's really hard to, like, I don't know, see that that's wrong. So I do see some people come back, you know, somebody will say, hey, you stole that mod, now you're posting it up here so you can make money off it, and the person is like, yeah, I am. What's the big deal? So I don't want to contribute to that, even though I know sometimes when I download a mod, I realize I am contributing to that, even though I don't want to. So the next best thing that I can do is not point you to specific links that could really make the problem worse, if that makes sense. I think you get what I'm saying. So I'll point you to mod, you find it yourself, and hopefully we stay at least a little bit legit. And I think we're going to go right through San Francisco. Not bad. What is that? Is that? No, that should be. If we just came off the bridge, that should be the Presidio, but I feel like it's not. I don't know what that is. And we may. I don't think we're going right through like downtown. I think we're just going to go kind of in one side and out the other. I don't think we're going through any neighborhoods. Well, we might. I think that crash earlier was, I think one of my trailer folders was half updated, one of my trailer mods. Like when I started Steam, it didn't start updating immediately, so I went ahead and launched the game, and then it was in the middle of bringing that workshop item in when I tried to load it, tried to access it. That's what I'm going with. Oh dear, looks like we got to do a little snaky driving down here. We're just going straight through. What are we doing? I can't see because it's behind the word. Yeah, we're just going straight through. Okay. It looked like they wanted us to do something off to the left there. Like make a loop or go around something. But no, we're okay. Alright. And we're not too far from Santa Cruz either. Right. So I'll do this one now. I had to do this in two pieces. We had that little crash when we got to the winery, so I'll put these two pieces together, get this set to render, and then I'm going to hop on what else? Project Cars. Is that what's due today? Do a Project Cars video. I'm not sure what to do though, because we just did. We're doing a lot of sports cars, so I feel like we should do some open wheel. But I don't know what I want to do for open wheel. If I want to do anything at all. And maybe I guess we could do vintage F1. Yeah, maybe we do that. Okay. So I'll get that going tonight. I've got well, I'll let it be a surprise. Yeah, I'll do that after we're done here. And I'll surprise you. I'll try to. I hope we don't have too many more red lights before we get out of town. Because this definitely slows down an episode. I do enjoy the variety though. I think if this game was just driving on a highway non-stop, I think I'd be bored out of my mind. So, can't complain about the variety. And I will, as soon as we get done with this job, as soon as we get dropped off, I think there's a repair shop in Santa Cruz, and I will look in there for a different motor. Something different than we have. Something different than we have in the 389. For some reason, I barely saw that. I mean, I sort of saw the traffic slowing down, but I didn't make the connection there was a light there. Huh. Well, glad I eventually did. Man. Traffic is real in San Francisco. Okay, I think that's it. I think we're heading out of town now. Maybe. Yep. Okay. Cool. So we'll get this dropped off, which we're only a few minutes away. So we'll get this dropped off. And then, yeah, that'll be it. We'll call it an episode, and I'll throw a new motor in here. And that'll be that. And what time is it? It's 8 o'clock now. Okay. So we're not running late, but I thought we'd get in a little before 8. I think it's going to be probably closer to 9. Okay, so it goes. Not a big deal. Set the cruise control. And there we go. And I see we're dropping off at, is it Walmart in Santa Cruz? I think that's what I saw. Trying to get a screenshot. With that sunset. And without. Nope, not gonna happen. That's not very good truck driving. Right. A for effort, but that wasn't happening. And I know there's photo mode. Why don't you just use the photo mode? Well, probably because that would be too easy. That would make too much sense. You know how we do things. And I think We've been running a lot of Cummins motors, but I think there's some Caterpillar motors that will work for this truck that I was kind of eyeballing when I was in there earlier. So maybe we'll switch it up a little bit and go Caterpillar for once instead of Cummins. We'll see. We'll take a look. Come on, come on. Sometimes just does not want to turn. And it's this one. What do you think? What do you think? I'm sort of in no mood. You know what I'm saying? I'm in no mood to take like 10 swings. So let's just go over here and do a quick delivery. There we go. Quick is what we're in the mood for right now. And so we get it. We did make 17 grand. We just leveled up last episode. So that's where we're at right now. And I will head over to the shop, put a new motor in this. Folks, thanks so much for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of American Truck Simulator. And we will see you next time. Take care now.